There we go. Welcome to our Thursday book launch. I'm Malika Albrecht, and I'm the founding editor of Redheaded Stepchild. And tonight we have a special treat, and I know that's why this group is here, is to celebrate with Diana Pinckney, her most recent book, Hummingbirds and Wine. Now, the book has not come out. She doesn't have a physical copy yet, but it will eventually come out. And if you would like to purchase a copy, go to Main Street Rag. I will put the link in the chat section so you can go directly there. I am one of the lucky ones because I got to read the book in advance. I had the privilege of writing a blurb, and when she asked, I was like, "Are you joking?" Yes, I would be honored and am honored. Diana not only is an amazing poet, just her craft and her skill and her vulnerability. And these poems in particular are heartbreaking and heartwarming and uplifting at the same time. And that takes a very special person to be able to do that. And I would also add that Diana is an amazing human being, a very kind person who has encouraged a lot of us as writers. I owe a lot to her gracious encouragement. So I will read just a little bit on the bio. Her work has appeared in so many different reviews: Green Mountains Review, Still Point Arts Quarterly, Arroyo, RHINO, San Petro River Review, of course, Pedestal Magazine, Palette Poetry, Kakalak, lest we forget. And she's been published, of course, in print and online. The 6 books. This was your 6th one, Diana?
Yes, this is the 6th one. Mm-hmm.
And of course, she has won many different awards. Atlanta Review's 2012 International Poetry Prize, and of course, Press 53, 2018 Prime Number Poetry Award. I'm going to turn it over to you, and I just want to remind people to mute yourself. I'm going to spotlight you, Diana, so don't be surprised when you turn back around and there you are.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for not only those beautiful words that I have really taken to heart and I don't deserve, but it's lovely for you to say those things. And thank you so much for this Zoom. And then, of course, thank you for reading the manuscript and agreeing to write a blurb on the back. And it just meant so much to me. And we go way back. We're old friends. We met through the North Carolina Poetry Society, which is a way I met a lot of you that don't live in my area. But anyway, I wanted to show and tell a little bit about the cover of the book. So here it is. It's a small portrait of my daughter, Elizabeth. And she's at the beach, which she loved. She lived at Myrtle Beach. But the story behind the painting itself is that a lot of people have asked me, because Elizabeth was an artist, if that's a self-portrait. It is not. But what happened was Elizabeth died in 2017, very suddenly, of a massive heart attack. So we had no warning or anything. But here in Charlotte at home, and she was at Myrtle Beach. So anyway, about a month after she died, and by that time we had gone to her house and cleared it out and found a bunch of wonderful photos that were taken by the professional photographer that worked for the Myrtle Beach Sun Times. And he knew Elizabeth walked on the beach every morning early before work with her dog. And he just wanted to see if that would be a good picture to put on front of the newspaper one time. And so I have those newspapers. We saved them. And anyway, he came over there and he took so many photos. Well, I didn't know that she had all these other photos that he took. Because the one on the cover of my book is not the one that was on the Myrtle Beach Sun Times. We found these photos just in packets and in a tub, a plastic tub in one of her closets on the floor. And she'd never showed, we've seen her art for years. We own some of her paintings, but we've never seen these photos he took. And he did a great job. So this friend of mine came over and she said, do you have any photos of Elizabeth at the beach that you've taken? And I said, no, you don't want mine. You want these. And these were taken by this professional guy. And so she chose one out of a whole packet. And that's what she painted that from. And it's very, it's almost impressionistic, there's shadows in it, and nothing's realistic in a way. It's kind of, I don't know what to say. I've used the word in the past and it won't come to me. But anyway, I thought that was perfect for the cover since Elizabeth had died. I thought that was perfect. So anyway, that's the beginning. And I thought I would read a few poems that start the beginning. I will have to say that it's not in her blurb, but when Barbara Presnell read the manuscript, she said, you think this book you've written, this manuscript, is about Elizabeth. It is not. It is about you and your reaction to her life and her death. And that was a revelation to me. I didn't know that. But anyway, the first poem is, of course, about her, but it's also about me too. Beach walker. I can still see her stretching in the hazy sun each morning, strolling the surf, breathing salt and the musky scent of creatures curled inside shells, whelks, clams, conchs, once alive. She's so many miles from my city home, so many, hey mom, when I'd lift the phone. How is it that a heart so loved could weaken through the days and weeks, and I never knew? A heart that beat with the rhythm of the sea, and one bright morning would fail her and me. Don't despair. This book isn't all dreary. Elizabeth had a wonderful sense of humor. And one of the poems is titled The Girl Who Loved to Laugh. Hesperin is the title of this one. Hestia, Greek goddess of the hearth. After she died, when asked how I'm doing, I may say I'm Hesperin, meaning cleaning, pushing, polishing, and filling absence by filling a machine with clothes half clean, clearing dust hardly settled, just as I can't settle. I can't rest the way she rests, forever away from chaos, the other god of my days. This poem has, this is totally a little true story. And I've got a little show and tell at this point. alligator. He came after her down the long halls of dreams. My daughter told me this. I'm a grown woman, Mom. How silly of me. Gators lived in creeks near her house, and sometimes a pine log seemed to rise, then slither its craggy bark over the bank and into the brackish black water. It's true these creatures can move stubby legs and four-clawed feet faster than you can run. But no 700-pound lizard stilled her heart when she dropped to the floor one May morning. Later, when I came to grieve and work my way through her house, I found the stuffed toy I'd given her to disarm the nightmares, propped on her bed in mossy green fur. He was waiting for me with his toothy grin. And here he is. I brought him back. We were down at the beach and we were clearing out our house. I said, well, that's a present I gave Elizabeth. I can't go back and find the things I gave her when she was a child, but that's something I gave her not long ago. And she told me it worked. She never had another nightmare. I also told her, I said, you ought to confront that alligator and tell him to leave you alone. And she said she did that, but she said, I think this toy on my bed is really what chased him off. Clearing out. This is sort of a prose poem, and I've got a few in there. Clearing out her house. I'm filling black bags with her skirts, shorts, bathing suits for goodwill, for neighbors, for family. I empty a bureau of small things that cling. A bathroom robe hangs on the back of a door. I bury my face in it. Here's a jewelry box with necklaces, pins. My arms grow heavy with her bracelets. Here are her shells, shoe boxes of whelk, starfish, periwinkle, sand dollar, wing and oyster, conch and coral, helpless clams with holes drilled by hungry barnacles through the rock-hard armor, shell after shell, each once home to a living creature. Now this little short poem takes me way back. This is where we lived. Elizabeth was born in Pensacola, Florida. My husband was in the Navy. And then we moved when she was just a few months old to Alexandria, Virginia, while my husband worked at the patent office and went to law school at night. So Elizabeth and I spent a lot of time together. And I did a little work from home, but didn't help much. I was mostly with my baby. And then Elizabeth's brother came. He was born while we were there, but this is just when she was a baby. But she was old enough to sit up. Little street, Alexandria, Virginia. We lived for a time in a rented house on this little street where I pushed her in a stroller down sidewalks leading to the school where we heard a young man speak in the football stadium before he was JFK, when he was still a brash Boston senator who wanted to be the presidential nominee. My baby on my lap, me on the metal seat, a sky too blue to be true, and both of them too beautiful to be true. Sometimes a bone is flung. That's the title, and this is after a line from Luck by Langston Hughes. He's one of my favorite poets. And I have a book, it was a bookmark really, with the poem Luck written on it, but I taped it over my desk. And I just think about it, because I'm not sure what it says. One day it says something to me, and another day something else. But I knew I had to use it somehow in a poem. Sometimes a bone is flung. The root of happiness is the same as perhaps both descendants of hap, hazard, or chance. My daughter gambled with the hazard of drink, then gave it up for a chance at life. But inside her body, the bone of luck was broken. This is something that, of course, really happened to me. Supercuts, 6 months after my daughter's death. That's the title. The stylist snips my hair shorter and shorter. As she works, we talk. You have children, she asks. Yes, I answer. Do you? Oh, I have 2 girls. How about you? 3, I say, my voice light, clipped as the gray strands covering the floor. My daughter's hair was long and red until it was blonde. She loved the sun. A little less on the sides, please, I say. Why didn't I say I have 2 children, sons? And that would have been that. Except that will never be that. I will always have 3 children. Do they live here? She asks. The sons do. My daughter lives nowhere and everywhere. It's good, she says. You have a girl too. Yes, I answer. It's good. It is good. Hummingbirds and Wine. This is from the title of the book. Drinking and watching from the deck, I surprised myself by smiling, finally laughing at the fight and flight of the only bird able to fly backwards. They buzz over our red feet, chirring through the heavy air in this late light that I love. So close, I see the beating of their frenzied hearts and raise my glass to the life surging in those tiny bodies. At what age and what place? In dreams, I bat around in our past house of 52 years, bumping into the new owners and their baby named the same as my dog, who now lives only in memory. Looking for her and my 2 sons, I wake recalling how we added rooms, dug flower beds, buried bulbs, 3 dogs, and 2 cats. How could we have sold that house? Did I lose or gain more of myself, moving from one home to another? Place carries us at any age. Still, our apartment suits, no stairs, more time to look at rather than look for, to watch the way sunlight slants through blinds on walls where the old art seems new. In inherited Audubons, birds fly closer. Marsh grasses and coastal creek waters shine a deeper green and gold in our lost daughters' paintings. It's true that sometimes if you've lost a loved one, you dream about them, and sometimes you don't. I mean, it just depends on different people. But I'm a real big dreamer. I think I dream huge dreams every night, and I have lots of people. In an earlier book I have, a book I wrote a long time, poems I wrote a long time ago. One of the poems is titled "Why I Sleep with Everyone." It's just everybody's coming and going in those dreams. But a few times, more than a few, maybe 3 or 4 times, I have dreamed about Elizabeth. Now, I may have dreamed about her more, but I just didn't remember it when I woke up. But this is what I did remember. Is this what a daydreamer does? Wonder the where and the why. A dreamer from childhood on, I now wonder, where is my daughter? Here's the wonder. One night in a dream she teased, I didn't die, Mom, still here. Another time I dreamed, she said that I was introducing her to some people that, some friends, I don't know who they were, but they were friends, and I was introducing her. And in the dream, she said, my mother is introducing me, but I'm dead. But I do come and see her sometime. So, dreams, I love my dreams. This is the last poem. It's the last poem in the book, too. It's titled Gardens. There was once a garden with azaleas and crepe myrtles and a bench where a girl sat with her father, who threw a ball for the dog while the cat clawed and climbed the trees. The girl grew into a woman with her own garden, where there were azaleas and stones beneath crepe myrtles to mark the graves of 2 dogs and 3 cats that her children had loved. And in that garden and house, the woman's daughter and 2 sons grew up, walking to a white church around the corner. In the churchyard, now there is a garden where ashes are buried, where the woman sometimes sits on a bench under a crepe myrtle near her daughter's ashes. That girl left home to live on the coast, where she walked the beach and painted the marshes, creeks, and bay myrtles growing on the green black banks of brackish gardens.
Oh, Diana, I didn't think I could love those poems anymore, but hearing you read them, I love them even more.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much. If people want to unmute, please feel free to. I think we want to take a moment just to say thank you so much, Diana. Just a
Wow.
gorgeous reading. Yes. Wow.
That was
Okay.
amazing. That was amazing.
Well, you're also welcome, and thank you for being
Mm.
here.
Oh,
There are some beautiful comments in the chat section, and a lot of people wrote down things that resonated with them. And I know, Terry, you were saying your voice. It is a lovely voice to listen to.
Oh, it's gorgeous. I've told Diana before I could listen to her reading cereal boxes.
Agreed.
Those poems were just gorgeous and poignant and heartwarming and heartbreaking. And I'm so honored to be here to hear you read them.
Well, I'm so glad you came, Terry. I remember seeing you agree to give a beautiful reading on Zoom from your last book.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hey. Does anybody have any questions for Diana about her process? I heard somebody say yes, I missed it. If you have a question, you can just jump in and I will check to make sure I didn't miss any in the chat section. I loved hearing the story of the painting of the cover, and I had not realized that's how that she had used a photograph,
Yeah.
Elizabeth, to do the painting. And it is oddly a little bit abstract
Mm-hmm.
and almost feels windswept. You know, there's
It-
something in there that's very beautiful.
I love you saying that. It's like, to me, it looks like like that ocean breeze,
Mhm.
and she's standing
That's-
right in the surf,
Yeah, that's what it feels. It's like there's a movement, there's a wind or surf right there, that movement.
And
I
it's
have
such a
to say, when-
joy-filled painting. It's so joy-filled and life-affirming and beautiful.
And it
Yes.
reaffirms the role of the sea and the sand through many of these poems.
Mhm. Yes. And also, when I have to say, when my friend who painted this, when she brought it back, maybe 3 weeks later, I mean, it was soon. She's quick.
That's
I've seen a lot of her paintings in her home, portraits of her children and grandchildren. And, they were just there, say that weekend from out of town, and she painted them. They're wonderful. When she brought it back, I propped it up on our table in our dining room because the light comes in there and everything, and in our old house. And I just started crying. Then Francis came home. I don't think he might. No, he wasn't working then. He came home from something, and he looked at it, and I said, "This is Gay's portrait. Gay was my friend and painted it," and he started crying. I'm in Francis's office because my computer's been acting up. So if you see some sort of, certificate on the wall, it's something to do with his law. It's nothing to do with me. My new computer we could not get the camera to come on, and we went nuts. And we're gonna try to, everything else about it is good. I told Melissa, but
Yeah.
we're gonna try to return it, even though it's a little late for that.
I was gonna say, you like the computer, but you do need a camera for Zoom. I do think that's
And I Zoom with like Deborah that's here joining us. I Zoom with her in that portrait group, and then I have another portrait group. Irene Honeycutt's in that, and she's in Indian Trail, and Tootsie O'Hara's in that. She's in Davidson, and then there's some in Charlotte. So you need Zoom, you need a camera, you need Zoom.
true story. Somebody has a question. Joan asked a very important question. Diana, what's your secret for reading these poems without losing your composure?
I think it's probably because I have worked on these poems so long and done so many revisions. I'm big on revisions. I love to revise, but I think I just got them just as sort of a part of me. I worked on them so long that I can do it. And I also noticed myself when I was reading that if I felt I was going to break up or anything, and that's perfectly all right for courts to do that. It's not that I don't approve of it. It's just that I can't keep reading if I do that. So when I felt like that, I just kind of stopped and took a breath.
Mhm.
Thank you. And Deborah, I was going to ask, you must have seen these poems being worked on. It must have been very wonderful to start seeing this book come together.
Well, actually, I'm sort of a newcomer to Diana's group. And the only poem I recognized was the last one, which is quite an impressive finale, Diana. It was something that we applauded from the first time we saw it, but Diana's relentless. She keeps working and reworking and reworking. She's masterful when it comes to making sure that her work measures up in every way.
See, and I think that's something, because she makes it seem so effortless. In a lot of ways, when you read the poem, you don't see all of that work, but I know it's extensive. And so I kind of wanted to circle back. Thank you for that, Deborah. Diana, like, how do you approach revision? What is like the kind of method that you use when you're coming back to a poem to revise? And you like doing that too. And I think that's another thing that's very important.
Yeah, because I think the blank page to start something new, and maybe in your head and you want to, but it's scary. Whereas once you got something down, then I feel so much more happy about it. And I am so fortunate to be in this group with Deborah and some other people. And we've got Gail Peck, and Gail knew Deborah when they got their MFAs. And so Gail, she made the rest of us happy by inviting Deborah to come join us.
Mhm.
But then I'm in another group, as I said, with Irene Honeycutt and those. And so I'm so lucky to have these fellow poets that when I get a poem to the point that I think I can't do anymore, then that's when I take it as one of our poems that we bring to the group. And we might bring we try to bring two depending on how long it is, and I tend to write shorter poems.
Mhm.
There's nothing in this chapbook that's more than one page.
But you say everything you need to say, so I wouldn't make it any longer.
Yeah.
Thank you, Deborah, for that. And thank you, Joan, for the question. Does anybody have a question that I've missed in the chat section? No? All right, well, let's take another moment just to say thank you so much, Diana, for just an amazing reading. And yeah, your voice is lovely. I'm with Terry. I would listen to you read the cereal box. I would.
Oh gosh, Terry, that is so cute.
And so true.
Oh, well, I'm so glad that I got to be with y'all tonight. And
Me too.
Oh,
I don't
Barbara's
know.
coming in. We're gonna wait. We're gonna bring Barbara. Oh, this is probably just now she got babies into bed. I kind of want her to read her quote, but we'll pause a moment and then we'll go to open mic, everybody.
Yeah.
I do have Joan, Caroline, David written down for open mic. Did I miss somebody? I did miss somebody. Feels like I did. Carol, yeah, no, I've got you there. Hi, Barbara. There you are. We were just talking about your lovely blurb for Diana. It was just, I just really love it. It's beautiful.
Oh, hey, Barbara.
Hey Diana, I'm so sorry I'm late, but I'm glad to be here.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you made it, you
So have
know.
I missed your reading?
Well,
We're in the relaxing conversation part of things, so you're right in time.
Okay, very cool,
Yeah.
very cool.
I didn't want to read too many poems, and they sort of all run together, you know.
Well, you gotta leave them wanting more, right? And that's what you do.
Yeah.
It's true. We do want more. And it was a lovely reading. I mean, she just picked out just the perfect poems to really read. And ending on that last one was very, very important. But we were just talking about how Diana is a relentless reviser and
Oh,
how
boy.
that it shows in her work in a way that like both looks effortless, but is so well crafted, is such a masterful way of approaching poetry that, just makes the poems so much more powerful. And so then we're talking about her process and we're heading into open mic. Thank you again, Diana.
Say one thing, when I started writing poetry, I felt like I was an old lady writing poetry, but really I had just never thought about publishing or anything. I just doodled around with it till I was about 50, and then I started taking classes. And first I took them in Charlotte from Tony Abbott and people like that. And then I started going in the summers off to these workshops and took some wonderful, and went to AWP sometime and heard some master poets. And I just lost my heart to poetry. And I haven't looked back.
I did not know that story, Diana. That's fabulous. Yeah, that's awesome. No, that's good to hear, because I think it reminds us that poetry is fabulous and that we, all the time it is the right time to find poetry and to lose your heart to poetry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna head towards you, Joan, and make you the spotlight.
Okay. Hi, the poem I'm going to read is about another daughter, and it's from my new book, Carrying Claire. I try to explain. I've been reading books to Claire to prepare her, books like So You're Going to the Hospital, with children in cheerful gowns and smiling nurses beside their beds. We play with her toy doctor's kit. A week before her 3rd birthday, I lie beside Claire on her bed, leaning against stuffed animals. I've written, rehearsed, timed this speech to be brief. I tell my little girl, just out of diapers, what's about to happen to her. How we'll have our own room at Children's Hospital and eat dinner from trays. How she'll sleep for 6 nights with mommy in a bed next to hers. About the playroom we'll go to, how we'll bring a suitcase with treats and candies, the stuffed cat. And I'll read books to her and never leave her side. She waits for what's next. She's heard too many fairy tales to believe that's the whole story. I go on. On the 2nd day, she'll go to a special room for an operation. Medicine will put her in a deep sleep. Dr. A and Dr. C need to go deep into her body to fix what's making her sick. When she wakes up, she'll have big bandages over a long cut. She slaps me hard across the face. When Daddy asks her what's an operation, Claire says, something that makes you cry.
Wow.
Thank you.
That is gorgeous. and powerful. And that last line I was not prepared for. I'm heading to Caroline next.
Hi, thanks. This is under consideration. This is not one of the ones I've published yet. It's called The Basement of Tehran, and I was a child during the Iran-Iraq War, so I'm trying to sort all that out through poetry. Hold still, dear child, to that fuzzy blanket until the siren stops. And when the bombs drop, we have this space beneath us that holds still as we take shelter underneath the loud alarm. And when fear reigns, stop, Azizem. Smell the fresh Nivea scent of your mother's hand. Pull closer to your madar. I tuck at my papush. My childhood blanket has collected neuron memories that can be triggered any second by the latest bombs in Ukraine. I am an REM trapped by nightmares that steal any sense of peace. And as I collapse under the eclipse, I can remember the pieces of another life, a pair of damp skis, and the smell of cardamom chai from Nahar, lunch, while remaining a child in hiding then, and now a displaced refugee in a country that often shouts, "Go back home." So I will process it step by step before rumination spirals downwards, stop and assess, sense feet touching the moist earth, smooth fingers reaching for the object before me, my gray-black life straw water bottle with a wolf howling above, pine trees sprawling at its feet, and mountain peaks rising towards its graceful neck. Just breathe this scene deep and rise upward from the belly to throat to crown. I allow myself to sink into the tub and inhale the scent of lavender into my lungs. I let the Epsom salt rinse off these old aches and soothe my nerves, for the sound of the sirens from the basement of Tehran has been replaced by the sensation of Tibetan singing bowls.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Y'all are really reading some powerful stuff tonight.
Thank you.
David, I'm coming your way.
Okay. Thank you, Diana, once again I always love to hear you read, and I love your poems. I've been writing a lot of poems about Ukraine. My grandparents came from what is now Belarus and immigrated to the United States, so it has affected me powerfully, and I've written a lot of poems. And I selected this poem to read tonight before I thought about Diana's book, but it seems to fit. It's called Lesson. A girl got lost on her way home from school, wandering as a wren in search of a nest. Was it after the war? Part of a dream? Only rubble seems to claim her, the dissolute sky. Maybe someone will see in her a photograph to be rescued from the flames. Maybe her thin skirt will not be torn by the wind. And maybe she will find a new home and learn again how she got lost from history.
Thank you, David.
Mm.
If people can unmute. Wow, guys, the open mic. So that's all I had for open mic. Did I miss somebody in the chat section that wanted to read? And I feel like there was a lot of powerful poems today. Diana, you set a very intense, important tone.
Oh, well, I'm so impressed and by these powerful poems that I've just heard from people that I know David, but Caroline and Joan. Joan, we were on a Zoom with who was it? Who does regular, some teacher that has that, but I think you and I were on that a long time ago. And again, my face wasn't on that because I couldn't get the camera to work, but I got in on it anyway.
I think your
and-
husband's trying to get on the computer right now because I just let somebody in from chat section. So we'll see if he's able to get it done.
Maybe so. I don't know. He's been
Right.
working, but he's about given up. We want to ship it back. But anyway, David, I think your personal family connection to the, now tell me again, who were the people from that Belarus?
That was my paternal grandfather and grandmother.
That is amazing. That is such a close connection.
Yes.
Did you, as growing up, did you know them?
I
Well,
did. My grandfather died before I was born, but my grandmother, I did visit her when she was 96. And it was an interesting story because I went to see her, and she died shortly after I visited her. I feel like she willed herself to stay alive because she knew I was coming. And she wanted to give me her TV and her social security check and all kinds of things. And of course I said, no, no, no. And she doesn't know a word of English. She didn't know any English.
Oh,
But, it was lovely to see her. And then she died shortly thereafter.
well, thank goodness you got to see her.
Absolutely.
And she
Absolutely.
got to see you. And Joe, I just saw that you have relatives that are also from there.
All four of my grandparents came from the Pale of Settlement, roughly Poland, Belarus, Latvia, and Lithuania, the small area of Russia where Jews were permitted to live.
Yeah. That must really connect you with all this. Everybody is so concerned about all this and they get all this news, but to hear from y'all really makes it come home to me anyway. And it's hard to write about, as David's written that beautiful poem, it's hard to write about something so soon, as it's happening. I think. At least I usually have to.
And it's tricky too, because we're not there. We're not personally experiencing it. So we are refracting the experience of others.
Yeah. Caroline, you mentioned Tibet.
Mhm.
Didn't you mention the Tibetan flags
I
in
used
near the end of your poem?
The
Oh.
singing bowl, you are correct, because she moves, and how triggering it is for people who have had experiences where there are sirens, there is wartime. But the centering of using that sound at the
Yeah.
very end of your poem, like Diana's pointing out.
Yeah, that's what helps me get through. I didn't process any of this until like a couple of years ago, and I've been still processing it. And I don't remember my childhood. And the best way to heal has been through poetry and meditation. And so that's what's helping me get through, because I can't watch the news right now. It's too hard.
It's triggering. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I wrote it. I read in the Sun magazine, I read a feature story on Tibet and China. And it was an interview with someone from Tibet. And so I was so moved by that, I wrote about how my poem's all about how oppressed the Tibetan people are. So I did some research, about it and everything, and I got fascinated with it. So I sent a donation to, it's something the Dalai Lama.
It's
Lama.
ICT. I bet you
Yeah.
it's ICT.
And I sent a donation and they sent a wonderful thank you letter. And Oh,
Great
it
flags.
had this lion, and I've got that propped up in my office. And then the Tibetan prayer flags, little miniature
Mhm.
flags, little paper flags. Oh, Lord, I just, I think they're so precious, and I felt so happy that they sent that to me.
Yeah.
And a lot of information about what is going on came with it.
But I'm gonna circle back to the idea of poetry and meditation and some of the connection there. Because even though poetry can take us back in time or sometimes in future imagined times, there is something very kinetic and present moment grounding about the act of writing. And I went to Duke Integrative Medicine many years ago for a mindfulness retreat. It was mindfulness for stress reduction. It's like a professional training. And when they found out I was a poet, they were like, "Oh, well, this should come easy for you," because poetry really is one of the things that we use a lot for present moment being ground in present moment. I think that's an interesting thing, Caroline, that you said that's something that you've been using in your healing process. And I would imagine that if we look at the poems and the process of tonight's poetry, it is about, being immersed in the human experience and navigating difficult emotions, finding a place to express and to tie in and to rejoice simultaneously while grieving. Diana, I think your poems are a really beautiful guide on how to grieve authentically, and then also at the same time in a very gracious and beautiful way, and so thank you for that. Thank you for articulating your experience in a way that I think resonated so deeply to us that got to listen to it today.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Any other thoughts or questions that people have?
Just thank you for this, for the invitation.
Glad
Thank
you were
you,
here.
Diane.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
I was just amazed at how all the open poems that we read just grew out of and fed back into Diana's poems somehow. That's
Agreed.
amazing.
Yeah.
Malika, would it be possible to ask us to close with a poem from Diana?
I love it. Yes, Barbara, that's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, Barbara.
Thank you, Barbara.
Got to hear you, Diana.
Well, let's see. I'm not going to reread one of the ones I read. I'll read something else. I'll get rid of those that I've read. Let's see. Oh, thank you.
Just in time, Francis.
He's brought me a glass of wine. All right. Let's see. Let me get here. What? I think that I don't want to read something. Oh, I know. My sons. I wrote some poems, about them and Elizabeth's death affecting them. And then I wrote about Francis, my husband, and I. When we came, the first time we returned to the beach, we have a condo down there, and Elizabeth was at Myrtle Beach about 30 minutes away. So we always saw her when we came down there. And sometimes she wasn't sure whether we were coming or not coming because we rented. And if a renter called the rental agency, then we cancel our trip and let renter come in. So sometimes she'd call on the phone down there. But anyway, this is after her death. The title is Her Parents Returned to Their Condo on the Coast. And it's dedicated to Francis, for Francis. He, She left a message on the phone. She, what? When? He, when? How could I know? Maybe the last time we were here. She, oh God, her voice. He, sit down. I erased it. She, you erased her. He, not her, her voice. She, how could you? If I could, he, I'm sorry. She, just hear it.
Thank you. Thank you very
you.
much. And I'm glad you asked that, Barbara.
Yeah, thank you, Diana. Beautiful.
Well, thank you, Barbara, for that wonderful, those comments you made that are on the back of my book.
Well, it was a book that I watched grow from its beginnings, and it was not an easy book to write, and you know, it's a gorgeous book and a wonderful tribute to Elizabeth.
I told them, Barbara, that you were the one that told me after you read the manuscript and gone over it several times, you said that you think this book, you said to me, you think this book is about Elizabeth. It is, but it's really about you.
Of course, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
She did share that, Barbara, and we were talking about how gorgeous your blurb was. I
Yeah,
almost read it because it's so well, and it just really captures the essence of that book. All right, guys, we're at that time. It's been lovely to be in your company, and Diana, thank you again.
I can't.
Thank you, Malika.
Thank you,
Thank
Malika.
you, and thank you, everybody.
thank you.
Guys, good to see
Bye-bye.
y'all.
Thank you all.
Everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Terry.